Record. Hi guys, welcome to Wapiti Wednesday for the 18th. And Sandy, this one's all for you.
I like it.
So you did see what we're doing tonight, right?
Yeah, I saw the Facebook post.
Yeah. So we're gonna e-scout using one of my favorite tools. So let me see if I can figure out how to screen share and if it'll get me the right one. Look at that. Oh, and I even get you guys. So I'm going to take you and move you over to here so I can get to the controls. So, all right. So can you guys see my screen?
Absolutely. Looks good.
Okay. So this is FatMap. So I've done a tutorial on this before. This is the tool that I jump into first. This is a free tool, and they do also have an app for the phone. Now, FatMap was designed by mountain bikers and skiers. So, and in fact, if you open up the left side, you can see hiking, mountain biking, road biking, trail running, skiing. And that's kind of what this was designed for.
And there's that elk hunting one too.
The elk hunting one.
I see the elk hunting icon over there.
On the left?
I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, am I missing something? Did they add something new? I pulled this open right before we started. So, yeah, very good. Very good. Let me do one thing. I do want to check hiking. And okay. So normally the only thing I turn on is hiking. Just because it's going to show me hiking trails once we actually get in. So, all right. So, Mr. Sandy, unmute yourself and tell me where we're going.
Power Lake, Washington.
Okay.
It's just north of Spokane.
I was going to say you could choose any state. Oh, but that's right. You wanted us to do a specific area.
I'll take any tips I can where I've been hunting because it hasn't been working.
Okay. So we've got Spokane, Chewelah, and Colville.
All right. So zoom in a little more for me there. Okay. So it's about a third, 2/3 of the way between Spokane and Newport.
Okay.
And slightly to the left of that. Of the line there. Should be.
You're kind of Rustler's Gulch area, Little Blue Grouse Mountain, Bald Mountain, Deer Valley.
Yeah, it's just slightly south of that, I believe.
Slightly south of Bald Mountain or Little Blue Mountain or Grouse Mountain?
Of where you're currently. So you see where it says Deer Park?
Yep.
Okay. Go north. Just a skosh. Boy, it's hard to see on here.
Yeah, Loon Lake, Deer Lake.
Yep, it's north of those. Go to the east of Blue Grouse Mountain. So yeah, Rustler's Gulch Wildlife Areas would be close.
Okay.
The lake that's right about where your cursor is, just north of it, I think is Power Lake.
There's Horseshoe Lake. There's Ponderosa Lake.
Ponderosa Lake. Okay, well, that's a different name, but that's the animal right there.
That's the animal. Okay, from the lake, do you hunt north, south, east, or west?
Typically, I'm to the west of it.
To the
right,
west
right in
of
that
it.
area there.
Right where it's kind of open a little bit.
To the left of.
Oh, to the left, towards Blue Grouse.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're going to focus on this area. So I'm going to stay out just a little bit. And the first thing I do is I come over in the right-hand corner and you have these kind of like pages stacked, and these are layers. Normally when you first come in, it's base map, and you can change the different style of maps that you're looking at. I typically don't do that. I go more into the overlays. And the first thing I want to take a look at is aspect. Then I'm going to close this again. Now at the top, we have a compass and we have different shades for north, south, east, west, northeast, northwest. Primarily what I'm looking for is north and northeast. So these two shades of blue. So right now I'm seeing this ridge and this drainage goes all the way up to blue grouse. Has quite a bit of good bedding area in it. And then just to the north of that, we have some more bedding. Helios Way is what's popping up. So the other thing too, do you guys notice in between these colors where there's no color, you can still see the trees?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are flats, benches.
Parks.
So what you can actually do is you can come back over and instead of the aspect, we can click on flats and this will actually show us benches. So the other thing I'm going to do too real quick is look at gradient. I want to know how steep this area is. Again, you have color grading. I typically look for stuff anywhere between 25 and 37%, which some of this area, especially this Helios Way and this other bedding area on the drainage and ridgeline that goes up to Blue Grouse Mountain, both have those. So the cool thing is if you can find something in that 25 to 37 degree and also in that aspect ratio of north to northeastern facing, you have found some good bedding area. Okay. So now that we kind of have some areas zoned in, I'm going to turn aspect off. And now it's time to go to 3D view. Now with your mouse, if you hold the right click, you can actually twist things around. You can flatten it out more. You can do a lot of cool things. So what I'm going to do right now is we already know, looking right up this drainage right here, we already know the left side is really good bedding area. And I already see one thing that really caught my interest. You guys see where my cursor's at?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see how this little compression, how the ridge kind of rolls around, but then you can tell there's a little bump right here?
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at something. Let's turn on flats. Nope, it's not a bench, but it has some changes to where you have northeastern facing with almost an east and southeast facing slope in that. So that's kind of interesting. So I'm going to zoom in a little more. You can also see at the top of this too, you have a lot of unjungulation. You have a lot of depressions up in the top here. What this does is this kind of gives a good basin draw head that has a lot of depressions that you can fit a lot of different herds of elk in here. That you could have multiple herds bedded down on different faces. Like you could have one bedded down up here where my cursor is. You can have another one bedded in this little cranny. You can have one bedded over on this cranny. You can have one bedded on this cranny. So this actually gives you some pretty good. The other thing that I'm noticing too is that there's an old road or trail that's coming up this thing.
That looks like it's ATV accessible.
Yeah. Sandy, is there quite a few ATV trails in this area? Oh, Sandy's dropping all kinds of spots.
Well, he's muted.
Yeah.
Sandy, unmute yourself.
Well, he's drawing little, these blue ticks are from Sandy.
Oh, how's he doing that?
He found a little marker that he can mess stuff up on.
Yeah, how's he doing that?
There we go. I don't know how I got that, but I couldn't get to my mute button.
Oh,
So there are a lot of old logging roads out there. All of them are gated off, so there's no vehicular access.
but as far as accessing pretty quickly, not having to beat brush or deal with down timber, you've got a clear run up this ridge, it looks like, to be able to start low, work this ridge up in the morning.
You can. There's some roads out there that you might have to walk a mile and a half up the road, but you're not beating brush for that.
Well, you've got a road on the backside too here, but this could also be a trail called Helios Way. But I mean, this is one of those things that this open ridge on the left side that goes up, with thermals blowing down in the morning, most of the elk that I'm seeing are going to be here feeding on this ridge top and over on these faces, and then dropping down for water and then going into the creek. And they may not even pop up over this top until thermals are blowing up so they can see what's down in this timber and smell what's down in the timber. So that's one of those things, you working this ridge up. The only thing is how open it is. They can see you coming from a long ways away, especially
Yep.
if they're feeding up high here. So I want to do one thing: base map and US topo. No, never mind that. I'm gonna pay stinking money for that. We'll just look at it and we might do a part 2 and look at this area in a different tool. So, okay, so this area definitely draws my attention. So I'm going to go back to 2D. I'm going to double click the compass to reorientate. So we are north at the top of the map, and we are going to turn our aspect ratio back on. So we looked at that. Now let's come to the north a little bit and look at this next area. So this is kind of nice. If you want to go back to look at a different area, just turn that aspect back on, and then you can basically look. And actually, I've found another area we're going to go look at next. So now we are here, 3B. And we're going to rotate around on this. You can use your roller to zoom in a little bit. Sorry, didn't mean it to go that quick. Okay, even though this had quite a bit of that aspect for bedding for north and northeastern, there's not a lot of timber. It's not a heavy timbered area. Now, this could be something that I could put into my arsenal of, hey, I want to come in here and take a look because I want to see what sign is in here. Because this could be one of those areas, since it's not as heavily timbered as this last area we looked at, it still could hold pockets of elk. But the two things that are turning me off is, one, it's not heavily timbered, and two, you have this road right into it. So, and while you're in 3D, you can just drag around and look at different areas. Buck Creek Road. There you go, Sandy. Buck Creek Road. Get you right up on the backside there. All right. No, nothing's wowing me there. So let's zoom back out, turn that aspect ratio back on, and this area over here kind of caught my attention. We got some good chunk of north and northeastern facing. A little bit there. Yeah. A little bit there. Let's see what the timber looks like. Okay. We're timbered. There's old roads for access, which means you're not going to have a motorized vehicle through. Let's go 3D. And rotate. Huh. This is kind of a gentle face.
It's gentle, but that's steep.
Yeah, gentle but steep. But nothing on the south side is really drawing my attention. But this right here, right in the middle, yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Got quite a bit of bedding area in there, and also on this back face. Little meadow park.
And I think south of Blue Grouse there is all private timber
Is it? Is that
ground, but
is that why it kind of looks like it's been thinned out and clear cut?
I think so, if memory serves.
Yeah. But kind of the north side here looks kind of interesting. Um, this is not. Yeah, we've come all the way back around, back to that first draw. We keep coming back to that
Hey
one.
Michael,
Yeah.
uh, was wherever you just were, Bald Mountain popped up in the distance?
Yep.
I think I pointed you in the wrong direction because that's a mountain that I see that I work around quite a bit.
Bald Mountain.
Yep. Loon Lake, it'd be to the that direction somewhere. Well, I saw it pop up just for a second.
Okay. Well, Nelson.
There it is to the in the about 11 o'clock. There's country that's somewhere in there. If you went back to 2D, you'd see Power Lake, I think. Oh, okay.
Huh.
I'm not seeing it at all.
No. Is it right off Bald Mountain?
I have gone up to the peak of Bald Mountain from where I hunt. It's
Okay.
off one of those draws. But huh. It'd be east, I believe, of Bald Mountain is the lake, maybe slightly north. And I may be partially just misremembering because it's been a while since I've looked at the topo on this one. But
Jump off lake, Hitch Pond, Beatty Lake. And I'm not seeing Power Lake.
yeah, it's
Benson,
east of there
Buzzard.
somewhere. But anyhow, I'm still getting good information on this fat map. No, but it was off of Bald Mountain somewhere.
Okay. I kind of like that area back where we were. And sometimes with these 3D views, it looks like the timber's sparse, and then all of a sudden you get in there and it's thick. That's why a lot of times it's good to go in and take a look. So there we can see the whole Bald Mountain area. Not a lot of northeastern facing areas, primarily on this east side.
Yeah, that's where I was running into. If I get much further south, it's all private ground. So I have to stay more northern. That Bald Mountain and north is a lot of public.
Well, definitely a reason they called it Bald Mountain because that thing is pretty bald
Mm-hmm.
and pretty steep. What's this? Well,
I get my exercise.
not much on Avalanche. So at grid wise. So what I did was I hit distance. Let me do this real quick. Let me go back to 2D. It'll make more sense. So when you're looking at an area, one of the layers you can turn up is distance. And so each edge of this square is 1 mile. So basically this right here that we have is 4 square miles. So you can get an idea of, how big the area is that you're looking at. Bald Mountain's not really wowing me there, Mr. Sandy.
Yeah, it's north and east of there somewhere, but it's been a while.
Because then we got Benson Peak, Nelson Peak.
Try Nelson Peak and go to the east of it. Sounds familiar. I should have looked up I know how to drive there.
Yeah. Middle Fork, Kalispell Creek, Boyer.
Middle Fork is an area I've hunted. Middle Fork Creek drainage.
The Middle Fork, Kalispell.
Yep. That actually Kalispell Road is what I drive up.
Okay.
There's Power Lake right there.
There's Power Lake.
Yeah, Power
That's the
Lake
one.
by Power Peak.
Okay, Power Peak.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Powers be by Powers. Okay.
So, and then the draw just to the west of that lake is where I've been hunting. All those roads are gated off between the peak and the lake.
So this long draw right here.
No, the draw to the left of that, where the National Forest Service development roads,
Yep.
those draws or those roads are all shut down, and those draws of what I've been hunting the last 2 years.
Okay. So let's
And I've seen a lot of cows and calves. I just haven't seen much rutting activity in there. So I think it seems to be a nursery area.
okay.
And I cannot
Yeah,
seem
because
to locate the rut.
Power Peak's only 39.93.
Right.
I typically like to be anywhere between 7,000 and
There's not a lot of that in this state.
600. Yeah. So yeah, and so you don't have a lot of bedding area in that draw that you're heading up off that National Forest Road.
No.
You do to the north a little bit. So on the north end of Power Peak. Huh. Nice little basin on the southwest side of Power Peak.
That actual road in there, that's ATV access now. That changed this last year.
Okay.
Opened that up. And it was just getting hammered this last season. There was people running that, both ATV and trying to go in and find a place to hop off and hunt. Unfortunately, a lot of the state there's 3 hunters to every elk.
Right. Tell you what, this draw to the north of Power Peak kind of draws my attention, but you do have that Power Lake Road, which you said is accessible on the upper end of it.
Right.
But you come back down here on the end. Because these roads are all closed, right?
That's the ATV access roads right there.
Those are the ATV access road?
Yep. And I did find a wallow at the upper end of that that draw 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Right in those real steep portions, there was a small wallow.
Okay.
Found a little bit of sign, but pretty limited.
Okay. For me personally, this has too much road and ATV access.
I agree.
I'd happily go anywhere north of there is mostly public if you can spot a good area for me to go looking this year.
Okay. Well, you got a campground right over here at Caniscu Ranch. Then we got Nelson Peak, Benson Peak. We already looked at Bald Mountain. That thing really didn't excite us. We got to make sure we're still in Washington too. Hey, we found a ski resort. Shawela.
Mhm.
Yeah, that doesn't do me much good.
You know, actually, the spot I'm hunting right now is right on the backside of a pretty big ski resort right here in Idaho.
Huh. Well, I guess there's plenty open feed ground during the year till it snows up.
Yeah. Well, and cool thing is too is because of that. Okay, now we're kind of starting to cook a little bit with gas here. You guys see what I'm noticing? See how this area in the middle of the screen? There's not a road, there's not a trail. Well, there's not a road, there's not ATV access. Now we're kind of talking a little bit. A little bit of bedding area there. We got some flats up top on the ridge line. So benches. Okay. And this is probably why there's not a lot of roads in here.
Little steep for roads.
It's actually not too bad. I mean, you got some 45-degree areas, but I mean, you're 10 to 27. Not too bad. That's kind of, there's your steep areas. But that's all west and south. There is a little bit of, kind of got some bedding potentials in there a little bit. Right on this, see these darker shaded areas? Man, this is something here, Sandy, that you could park another lake. Um, you could park and work up through this bottom flat and you could bugle up in these drainages. And then you could, I mean, nice loop right here. You can come up through the bottom bugling, waiting to hear, and then start making your climb at the end up towards the ridge when the thermals start going up, and then work back along the top. I mean, that's a day loop right there that you can cover a good amount of ground. Probably about a mile, about a mile in the bottom, and then start climbing up. And so, I mean, this would probably be, I mean, with your elevation climb and all that, I mean, this would be about a 3 mile loop. Okay, let's go back to this other side. See what we got over on this side. I'm already seeing, and a lot of times you don't have to turn on that sun aspect because you can see by the dark shadows on the earth, it's automatically going to give you shaded areas. There's some east and northeast. So again, you've got something that you could almost come off this trail or road into here and then work ridgeline up so that you're up top when thermals start blowing up, and then you've got an elevated to where you can work this. You can hang out up top. You can listen for, elk to start bugling, get up in the or, get up in the midday to go get water. And then since you're already up top, you're going to be able to hear this basin pretty good and then be able to drop down in and work on it. And you have some nice defined ridge lines to, come down for packing out. Cottonwood Divide Road. Okay. See if we can find some more areas like this with not a lot of roads. Got some there. What do we got for aspect? There we go. That's what we want to see right there. Gradient's not too bad. Wonder how many people, though, hit this road to come up and get into all these draws. Oh, a lot of roads in there now. But if this is like the other area to the south where a lot of these are closed down, they may not be too bad because you're going to be on foot, which will eliminate a lot of people. God, you got cuts and cuts and cuts. Yeah. All right, that one lost my.
Are those roads open, Sandy, or closed?
I've not been to that specific area, so I'm unsure.
Okay.
If those are closed and gated roads, this would be an area that would definitely, because you can use that road system to come in and access this. I'm sure the white in the bottom is open,
Yeah, that one would be.
and then it kind of loops around, but everything else on this face, I mean, you can use this road system to really access this a lot. And so most people are going to come up and hit these upper roads to walk because most people aren't very smart and they don't understand that wind blows down and we stink and elk don't like the way we smell. And so everything's coming down. So with you working the bottom, a lot of these people are going to work the tops. They're not going to hear anything. They're going to go back to their vehicle and they're going to go someplace else. But being in the bottom and then working some of this road system up, and you can come up one road a little bit, then you can jump up on the ridge, come up and hit another road system. Just, making sure that you're not gaining too much elevation too quick, but you want to be high enough that when thermals start blowing up, you're not blowing anything out. We've got some open. That's going to be southern, tell you that. Yep. So you got some open southern areas for feed. And then they can roll right up over the top and go down about, just usually they'll roll over the top and just drop down about a third of the way and find places to bed, like benches. So you got some good benches high up on the mountain. You've got some flat benches on the ridge. So I mean, that would be an area that I would definitely check out.
I'll make an effort probably in May, maybe June.
Yeah, just get in and see what kind of sign you can see. All right, let's see. Man, everything looks good until you start zooming in, then all those dang roads start popping up.
That's because the timber people like that area. They even put roads in because they want the timber.
Yeah. Which in reality, when they put those roads in to access and log those areas, when they're done logging, they actually decommission those roads. So they'll Kelly hump the start of them so you can't drive vehicles. And so really, you have foot traffic. You will get some individuals that will try to take ATVs up over the Kelly humps and ride back in there, but then they start putting gate systems in. But those old logging roads are really good access, and you'd be surprised at how many elk use those old logging roads for access. So, in fact, one of the face up behind camp where we're at, um, from the bottom where we're at, kind of up towards the top, I think there's 5 cut roads that go across that face. And man, we constantly see major trails and tracks. And a couple of years ago, in one of the corners where a little creek was, there was a bull that was bedded down by the creek. And that dude sat there and raked a tree while he laid in his bed. He never even stood up out of his bed to rake the tree.
Wow.
I've never seen that before.
Well, we got there and looking at the rub, and it was a good sized rub on the tree, but I mean, it was only you know 8 inches off the ground where it
Yeah.
started, and I was like, man, he's sticking his nose in the ground, and then I saw his bed, and I was like, that dude laid in his bed and just
Man,
raked.
that's lazy.
Elk are lazy sometimes, unless we start hunting them.
Yeah.
Monumental Mountain. Okay, some of the best elk hunting I've ever had was around Monumental Peak here in Idaho. So looks kind of gentle though. Well, nice meadow. Got a little pocket pond right there. This could be one of those areas that is really, really wet during the spring and marshy, but then you have your creek vein coming through. Ooh, that's a high elevated meadow. 5670, we're getting a little better on elevation. See, these are the higher peaks where your bulls are going to be, especially during the summer, 6749. Getting up here above timberline, getting out of the flies, the biting bugs. And sometimes these high crags, they like going back up into and rutting. I like the look of that basin, but this road or whatever ain't
Hmm.
too exciting. That looks more like an old AT. That looks more like an ATV trail. Man, this would be something though, Sandy. If this, where'd that road number go? National Forest Development Road 24. You've got a pretty good high knob right here that you can get up here and you can glass a lot of area. That would really save your legs. Let's see. So sitting here, we can glass over to that face. We can glass this knob. We can glass this. I mean, you can just see from sitting this knob how much area you can glass and you can cover to Fine Creek. I mean, look at this. From this knob right here, you can glass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different mountains.
Right. I'm not sure what hunting zone this is in, but I'll definitely look. A lot of the zones up here are in Washington are spike only, which is for archery is just really tough.
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
about 80% of the hunting zones in Washington are spike only.
Gotcha. I actually got invited today to come over to the Oregon coast and hunt rosies.
What part?
Not sure. I was actually just talking to Garrett Weaver.
Ah,
And he's so funny because he's like, yeah, he goes, if you ever want to come over and test your wits against rosies, he goes, if you don't want to hunt with me, I can point you in the right direction. I'm like, dude, why would I travel all the way over to the Oregon coast and have you point me in a direction and not hunt with you? That's just silly. Besides, you know where the elk are, so you need to take me in there.
there you go.
So, Tillicum Peak, that's kind of a major peak, isn't it?
I'm not really familiar with this part of Washington. That northeast portion is
Yeah, that northeast
getting real
corner.
close. It's getting real close to the border there, and I haven't spent much time up there.
I mean, from what I've seen right now around this Monumental Mountain in this Tillicum Peak area, I'm kind of finding more interest
Okay.
in there. Don't go to Hungry Mountain because you'll just get hungry.
If I'm hiking, I'm hungry.
Usually if my eyes are open, I'm hungry. So, okay. Well, that will give you some ideas, some areas to kind of take a look at.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah. So, okay. So now we are going to that kind of wraps that up. What we might do is do a part 2 down the road. Well, we'll kind of look in Acme Mapper at that area a little bit more with some different tools, because then we can really dive into water sources, creeks, all that kind of stuff. And there's a few more tools in Acme Mapper that we have at our disposal. So, all right. So what we are going to do now is we are going to prep for the next live Q&A. And Mr. Larry, the next live Q&A is
Elk calling.
so do you guys want to go cow or bull?
I'd like to go bull.
You'd like to go bull. Okay. Which bull sound do you want to work on? Which one do you struggle with?
The chuckle.
The chuckle. Okay. So, like I said, what we would do is we would choose a sound, and then I would kind of do some tutorials and break it down. And then you guys can work on that for the next 2 weeks. And then we'll come back on the next one, and then we'll kind of have a group calling session. And I feel sorry for all those guys that are going to tune in 2 weeks from now that weren't on this one. And they're not going to have a clue what we're doing unless they watch the replay. Okay. So remember, chuckles have 3 parts. You have a note, you have a oh, like you're punched in the gut, oh, and then you have sucking in. So note, oh, note, oh, note, oh. And you can sit there, and that's how you can get the rhythm. You can just say that out loud. You can do exactly that. Just say the word note, oh, note, oh. And the note, you're actually just so. All right, let's do this little tidbit real quick. So if you take your tongue and you push it to the roof of your mouth, like you're flattening out a piece of bubble gum, you'll feel that there's a certain part of your tongue that you have the most control over, right? So once you have that part of the tongue, you take your reed and you place it on the top tip on that part of the tongue that you were really flexing. So you don't actually take the reed and put it in the roof of your mouth. You actually take the reed and you put it on your tongue on that part where you are really flexing and then press it to the roof of your mouth. Because now you're on the optimized part of the tongue that you really have the best control over. Okay. So on the chuckle, you kind of want just medium pressure. Almost like a little dog whine to it. That's going to be the note. And so when you put the reed in your mouth and you replace that word note, oh, 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 and you break those three individual parts and you do that a bunch like that. Once you have that consistent where you're hitting that note the same each time, oh, you have that, you breathe in. Now you can start combining them. So you can take the first two parts. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You still have that little lag before you start sucking back in. Again, do that a bunch where you have that consistency. Then you add all three parts together. Ooh, 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 ooh. You're just doing singles for several times until you get that consistency. Then you can start putting them together where you can do doubles. And then once you have the doubles, then you add in the triples. So remember, you got to break them down into the individual sounds first, and then you can start combining the sounds. Because what you're doing in your mind, when you do the individual sounds, your mind's like, okay, we got this. We understand the three individual sounds. Then when you start combining them and you only combine two, the brain's like, oh, okay, this is not a big deal. We're only combining these two. So you're not overloading the brain trying to figure out everything. You're breaking it down to the most minimal small part. Now, it doesn't sound like that much, but as soon as you do this through a tube, then you can start working on cadence. So, homework in preparation for the next Wapiti Live Q&A in 2 weeks is work on the individual parts of the chuckles and then start kind of bringing those together and just work on singles. So by the time we come back in 2 weeks, if you guys can be doing doubles or triples, don't worry about the pacing yet. We want to break it down to the fundamentals and we want to build off that. And then once you can do 2 or 3 chuckles, and you have all 3 components in there, then we can build off that and we can start going off the rhythm and the cadence. So may the odds forever be in your favor. And there's the challenge that I throw to you guys for the next 2 weeks.
This will be amazing because in 2 weeks I will be in a hotel in Denver, in a hotel room for this call.
That's okay.
Oh, that'll be
What do you, so Sandy, are you coming through next week?
Next week, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, I've got to fly to Vegas tomorrow, down and back in the day, but next week I should be in town all week. So just give me a shout and
Okay.
we'll plan a time to meet up.
Are
I was in
are you
Vegas last
Denver?
week.
What's that, Larry?
Michael, are you in Denver?
No, I'm in Boise. He's coming through Boise on his way.
Oh, going through Boise. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm spending a week in Boise working next week, and then the following week I'm in Denver.
Okay.
So yes, Sandy's going to get the live in-person, face-to-face
Cool.
meeting.
Michael, I have one request. I would appreciate a 20 or 30-minute video of all the elk sounds, like going from all the cow calls through the bull calls. It may only take you 20 minutes to record all of those, so
Okay.
we can practice those and repeat those.
Okay.
Because when we just practice by ourselves, we're just making our own sounds. We're not
Right.
making the sounds from an experienced caller.
So
So our practice is sometimes practicing incorrect procedures all the time. But if we had a video of that,
yeah.
we could emulate that.
And there actually are here on the Patreon page.
Oh, they are?
Yes. So if you go on the computer and on the top on the computer, you'll see some tabs that say instructional videos or Patreon Q&A or articles. If you click on the instructional videos and you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom, this is one thing I don't like about Patreon because it puts the newest videos first and it puts the old ones all the way in the bottom. But if you go all the way to the bottom of the instructional videos, it'll start with cow sounds and it'll have the first video of fitting a diaphragm reed and then making sounds. And then I think chapter 3 is actually cow sounds, and then you get into bull sounds. But there are videos on here that do go through all the cow vocalizations and all the bull vocalizations.
But that's several hours of stuff to get there, right?
No, they're really not that long of videos. I think the cow sound video is 35 minutes
Okay.
in total with all the sounds, maybe not quite that long. Bull vocalizations. Really, I think between the two videos, 40 minutes, 45
Oh,
minutes.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So, it, and on the new e-course too, that's what's going to be great because it's going to be a lot easier to find those chapters to where you can jump right to a specific sound.
Okay.
Jim,
Yeah,
we'll
Larry, what I did on mine was when I listened to those cow calls that Michael was doing, I took my cell phone and have a recording on it, can record, and I recorded a lot of them. So I can just, if I'm in the field or something, and I'm like, how'd that sound again? I can just hit the thing on the phone and it'll do the call for me.
Now, you
Mhm.
know what Jim does? He recorded it on his phone, and when he's out there hunting, he just hits play and holds the phone up.
No, not like that. When
He
you can't
just puts
remember.
he puts it on a continuous loop.
Yeah.
So, but I can put
Perfect.
I can put together more, of a practice video where instead of talking about the sounds and exactly what they are and what they mean, which is what's done in those other videos, I can do what's called a practice video where I just go through all the sounds, where I just say basic mew and then I do it and I pause for a couple of seconds, then I do it again. So that way you can do it back and forth, and we can basically just mirror each other and kind of tune. So I can definitely put together a practice video like that.
Oh, touchdown. That would be wonderful. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay, I will add that to the list. So, all right, guys, we are going to wrap up for tonight. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Sandy, looking forward to when you get out there. Hear some feedback on these areas if I steered you in the right direction or if I was completely off my rocker. Which
Well, if you are, I'm going to bring you out there to try and call something in when I can't find them.
perfect. Okay. So,
All right, guys.
I like it. So, all right, guys, as always, keep calling, keep practicing. More importantly, they'll have fun, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks. And the next video is on chuckles and practicing and breaking down chuckles. So we'll see you guys then.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Have a great night, guys.
Bye-bye.